Welcome to the ROI Masterclass, the podcast where vision meets strategy and bold moves create measurable results. I'm Liat Siegel, interior designer and ROI strategist with 17 years of experience. I help businesses transform properties and ideas into high-performing assets. This show is specifically for real estate investors, hospitality operators, and boutique developers who aren't afraid to take risks, challenge the status quo, and demand a return on every decision they make. Each and every week, we talk with innovators and leaders across industries about the strategies and the insights and really all the unconventional thinking that turns potential into profit every single time. If you believe that smart design, decisive leadership, and strategic risk are the keys to real ROI, you're in the exact right place. Let's dive in. Today on the ROI Masterclass, we're joined by Sean Palani, a hospitality veteran whose career spans restaurant operations, consulting, and nonprofit leadership. With decades of experience opening restaurants, guiding owners through transformations, and mentoring teams, Sean brings a rare blend of operational insight and heart. His approach to ROI goes beyond numbers, connecting brand, culture, and guest experience to drive lasting value. We're excited to dive into this story and explore how hospitality principles can elevate returns in any business. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to speak to you about everything, all the wisdom that you bring to the table.
Well, thank you for having me. I am very excited to be here and speak with you today.
Amazing. So tell us about your background and how you got into what you're doing today.
Sure. Yeah. So I am a lifelong industry hospitality veteran. I got involved when I was 15. We were visiting a local diner to go see a buddy of mine. He was giving his notice because travel baseball season was starting. His boss turned to him and said, "Well, you better find me somebody." I tugged on my buddy's apron, pointed myself. He introduced me to his boss. Worked for Pat Spagnuolo for 2.5 years, and I just stayed in it. The money was great. I was fed every day. You can't beat it. And just the art of hospitality was taught to me at an early age. And receiving people as if you were receiving them in your own home was something very special, something I enjoyed doing. And it was a gift, and it's something I still enjoy to this day.
Amazing. What is like one challenge that you had in your career that kind of was the turning point for how you approach things today?
I think learning at such an early age, the difference between guest and customer. A guest is somebody that you have into your own home, and restaurants as such should receive people as their guests. So if you see somebody coming into the front door, you don't stand there waiting for them. If you're having a dinner party and you see people pulling in your driveway, you're hustling to the front door to greet them. You're checking on them throughout dinner. You're engaged with them out throughout the dinner. And before they leave, it's hugs and pleasantries goodbye. It's not just letting them walk out right out the door after they finish their last bite of the dessert and last sip of coffee, right? And it's the same way with restaurants. We don't just let people leave after they've taken their last bite of dessert and leave. It's holding the door for them, shouldering coats and scarves and hugs if applicable, and sending them off with pleasantries and making sure they return.
And how have you seen that impact? Like when you went from maybe doing it the other way to treating them like a true guest, how did you see that impact ROI?
It's complete ownership because the guest feels it as well. And when I teach hospitality classes, when I lecture restaurant managers and owners on the art of hospitality so they can extend it to their staff to extend to their guests, there's an ownership piece, and you are more involved in the dining process than if somebody was just a customer, which is a transaction. And we are not transactional. And I think we need to get away from that in everyday life. Whether it's somebody we meet over on the street or somebody we're sitting next to at the park or on the bus, but everybody should be treated as a human, as a friend, as a guest in our homes. And that's how we go about things. And you see it in your ROI because everybody feels it full circle.
Right. And then that impacts them to want to come back.
Absolutely.
Right. And tell their friends and photograph their experience and share it all over TikTok or Instagram.
That's right. I tell people all the time, you can create the most memorable dining experience and have mediocre to more than mediocre food. Guests will return because of how they were treated and how they felt during their dining experience. You can have the best dining experience and not so great food and still want to return to give them another shot. But you can have amazing food and not such great dining experience due to the lack of hospitality and not want to return. And I see that all too often.
What do you think impacts that dining experience also? Like, are there other elements, other pillars that you would say must-haves when you guide other restaurateurs?
Absolutely. A clean an inviting restaurant, an aesthetically pleasing restaurant, a warm greet as soon as you walk in the door, a knowledgeable staff and hospitable staff who generally care that you're there, great food, attentive service, but not overly attentive where you're invasive, great temperature, music levels, somebody who is in charge and overseeing the operations, just knowing that somebody is there, whether it's an owner or a manager, and feeling like it was the most unbelievable experience when you left. Walking out there and you're like, wow, what did I just experience? I can't wait to go back. That's the goal for every dining experience.
In juxtaposition to like a restaurant doing it the absolute wrong way versus a restaurant that's killing it. Like, give us that visual. What does that look like?
So I do a lot of secret shops. I'm actually doing one tonight. I did a secret shop not too long ago where first thing I did was call the establishment. I just wanted to feel the house to see if there was any hospitality through the phone. Young lady that answered the phone really couldn't care that I was calling. She didn't give her name. It was just more like she named the restaurant. It wasn't, hi, thank you for calling so-and-so. How may I help you? And I just asked her about the hours of operation. And then when I asked for directions, she said, I really don't know. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm not sure, but let me find out for you. I'll be right back if you don't mind holding for a minute or two. And it was just like, I don't know. And then when we arrived, the outside, one of the lights in the sign was out. One of the signs over the door was out. There was some litter on the property. And then we walked in. We weren't warmly greeted. There was two young girls at the host stand, looked like they were on their phones. They looked up, acknowledged us, and was waiting for the other one to greet us. Asked us how many. We said two, and the other one said, follow her. The other one walked way ahead of us instead of walking with us and engaging us during our walk to find out, but it was our first time, how we heard about the place. Laid the menus down and just walked away. Didn't tell us who the server would be or, let us know to enjoy our meal. Now the staff seemed rushed and it wasn't that busy. I did a check of the restrooms. They weren't tidy like they should be, especially for as slow as it was. There was no engagement with other guests in the staff. Other staff were on their cell phones, which is one, unsanitary and a health violation. And two, it's just, it doesn't allow you to see what's going on in your station. You're not aware. So it just wasn't the best dining experience.
And then a restaurant that is doing better, what does that look like? What does that customer journey look like?
So they are calling you to confirm your appointment and letting you know that they are excited to have you. As soon as you arrive, it's well lit. Parking lot is taken care of. The front is well manicured. All the lights are working. You walk in, the light and the temperature levels are perfect. The music level is great. The lights are dimmed to the appropriate hour. You are warmly greeted. You're checked in. You're walked to your table with the host asking you how you heard about them, what you're excited about. Did you get a chance to look at the menu? So-and-so is going to be your service night. Enjoy your dinner. We're greeted within 2 to 3 minutes with our server introducing themselves, knowing that they've got a full section, but taking the time to warmly greet you, introduce themselves, go through the menu, get drinks, come back, and just checked on, again, not in an invasive manner, but genuinely caring how your meal is going. Full menu knowledge, full beverage knowledge, restrooms immaculate, guests and staff enjoying the pleasantries of the interaction, staff interacting with each other in a professional manner, supporting each other, running each other's food and drinks. Manager on duty, very visible, supporting his staff. Not a lot of noise coming out of the kitchen except just professional chatter and communication about food. It was an amazing dining experience. It's absolutely amazing.
So where does that come from? Does that start with the manager? Does that start with ownership? How does that trickle down?
That starts with ownership, setting the standards and making sure people understand what they're looking for and what their goal is every single day that they open those doors. And then hiring a manager who can carry that through, who has those tangibles and intangibles and knows what great hospitality is and know what it means to take care of a guest, and then trickling that down and teaching that to the staff and making sure it's proper hiring, not hiring robots, hiring people who love serving and taking care of others, who are 110% bought in to hospitality.
Is that what you do to help restaurateurs? Like, you conduct these secret shops, get a beat on what's working and what's not working, and then guide the restaurateur accordingly?
I do. So I'm hired to do secret shops to make sure that restaurants, brands, or small businesses are brought through in the way that they intended them to when they first conceptualized the concept in their mind to paper and to opening those doors. If a restaurant is not doing well, it usually leads to a hospitality training class, which is always a great success. The staff leaves invigorated. They leave with a little more knowledge. They're excited because they know they're going to make a little more money. The ownership and managers are excited as well because they know that their staff is going to be doing the things that they should be doing in a way that's very easy for everybody, but it all comes down to teamwork and communication and having a great time. It's like throwing a party in your own station. I tell staff all the time, you are hired to do a job, to throw a party. You are basically running your own business. The owner has paid for everything for you to run your own business. They've got you support staff. They've got you the tools, utilities, the food, beverage, everything you need to run your own business. All you have to do is keep it tidy and keep it hospitable and treat guests like they're in your own home. Simple as that. And when the staff, they understand that. And then I do a little math for them. So let's take, for instance, I did a secret shop for a restaurant group that had 9 restaurants. Not one single one of them offered me coffee or dessert at any one of those concepts. 9 restaurants, not one coffee or dessert offered after my meal, or a refill on my drink for that matter. So I did the math. I got the numbers pulled from the area manager, and it came out to a lot of money. So $1.4 million lost on opportunity by offering another drink, coffee or dessert. And then that equaled $26,000 to $27,000 in tip money lost to the servers. What would you do with $27,000 right now? And they all go around, I'd take a vacation, I'd pay off my bills, I'd buy a car, I'd put a down payment on a home. I'm like, well, you can't do that because you didn't offer me coffee or dessert or another drink.
Wow.
And the eyes just light up. I'm like, I want to give you $27,000. And all you have to do is your job. It's nothing extra than when you're checking the table or pre-bussing my table and looking at my half-empty drink and like, hey, would you like me to bring you another glass of wine, or can I bring you another beer, or can I get you a refill on your soda?
Absolutely. I mean, I was going to ask you, how do you get them motivated? How do you get them to want? But when you position it like that and you tell them, here's how much money you're leaving on the table, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's nothing better than a follow-up from a server or a bartender that emails you and reaches out and says, hey, I've employed what I'm supposed to be doing for what I learned in your class, and I can tell I've already made it a little extra money. It's wonderful. But then when the owners see the number 2, they're blown away, and some of them get a little upset, and then it becomes a mediation between them and management, which I do as well. And it just comes down to training and just being present on the floor with your staff and just reminding them that you got to have that pre-shift. You have to have that lineup before the shift starts, whether it's 5 minutes or 15 minutes, and just reminding them, here to support you, do what you have to do, take care of our guests, I'm here to support you in that method. Let's make sure drinks are always full on the table. Let's make sure everybody's enjoying these great desserts that we have, and then after dinner, drink or a coffee.
Do you ever conduct surveys for the customers, or are you the survey?
I am the survey.
You are the survey.
I am the survey.
Because I've done that before. I will go in and I will ask both the staff and the customers. I never want to design a space in a bubble. So the design needs to be conducive for the experience that they're wanting. It can't just be beautiful. It has to be functional, and it has to be market specific.
Absolutely. To go back to that, I do have surveys, because when I do host a hospitality class, I always ask the management and the owners to step out for 10 minutes at the end of the class. I ask for feedback from the staff. I want to know what's stopping them from their earning potential, what they think is stopping them from earning the most money, what they love most about the job, what opportunities they see. I never like to say anything negative. We keep it as opportunities. What opportunities do you see here? What can I do to help facilitate that? It's turned into a couple mediation meetings between staff and management, staff and ownership, management and ownership. And it's never really negative, but there are times where, somebody will say to me, I wish I had a bigger section. I know I can take 8 or 9 tables. And I have proven that method wrong over and over. I've put them up I've given people 6 to 7 tables, and I've given people 3 to 4. The people that have smaller sections pay more attention to their tables, are in their sections longer and more attentive to their guests than 6 or 7 who are stretched thin. The 3 to 4 table section makes more money in tips.
Wow.
They're able to turn their tables quicker. They're more guest attentive, provide a better guest engagement and service.
How do you determine how many tables each person has, or do they all have the exact same amount? Is it an even spread?
It should be an even spread. It also goes by experience and tenure, but I am never a fan of taking more than 3 to 4 tables, 5 tables max. The great thing about having handhelds now, you can take a bigger section. So a server essentially never has to leave the section. So if I were to have a 4-table section, 5-table section, and you sat me 4 tables at once, I can greet one, take their drinks, send it, greet table number 2, drinks, send it. Table number 3, as I'm greeting them, drinks for number 1 are coming out, hit and send for table 3. Drinks for number 2 come out. I'm at table number 4 and 5, and it's just continuous flow. As long as my drinks are being run and my food is being run, and I have hands to help me pre-bus tables and bus tables, I never have to leave my section if I have a handheld. And I am always aware of what's going on at my tables. There's never a need for anybody to look around, to raise their hand, to interrupt what they're doing with their guests, to call for a server or call for a manager.
I would say that also the business as a whole makes more money, because I think that guests would be satisfied more more because it's not so much of a, I'm not being served. It's not fast enough. And that hand waving, I've seen that so many times at a restaurant, and personally, it's frustrating.
Yeah. I did a shift analysis for a African restaurant 2 weeks ago, and I was there on a Saturday night, their busiest night, from 5 to 10 o'clock. And we identified a lot of opportunities, a lot of inefficiencies. Guests were waiting a long time for their food. Certain cultures do not like waiting. Certain cultures are more forgiving. They were split on this evening. Some people waited an hour 10, hour 20 minutes. So when we went over all my notes a couple days later, we installed a lot of new methods and operations. We got new equipment piece that's coming in. We consolidated the menu. We created an amuse-bouche for those that are waiting for people to wave their hands, identifying no one. It's communication. It's the servers letting the manager know, or the manager knowing that a ticket is dragging and just offering or calling for that amuse-bouche right away. It's something that's already prepared ahead of time. It's a quick pickup. We bring it to the table. We know you've been waiting a little bit. Just want to drop something on the table to hold you over. Your food will be out shortly. If we're proactive and we let people know instead of dodging and hiding, it soothes a lot of it. There's never a need for a Band-Aid.
Absolutely. How do you think design plays into all of that? Do you see it making an impact in terms of guests wanting to come back and staying and spending more?
Sure, absolutely. I've been in places that feel very cold, that seem like they're designed in a very cool, modern, chic way, but it's cold, hard floors, cold temperatures. There's nothing inviting or nothing eye-appealing. I've been in establishments with very high ceilings, but warm colors on the wall with warm paintings and great linens hanging, and it feels good. And the bench seating is comfortable. The chairs are comfortable. The table is not wobbly. It's aesthetically pleasing. There's great acoustics. I've been in small restaurants where it's small, but it's seesawed and it's puzzled. Different corners. So if a server needed to hide, they can literally hide, and the staff wouldn't see them. Their guests wouldn't see them. And I'm not a big fan of that. I do love private rooms for just that reason. Having an area for a large group to be able to do their thing. I like quieter areas where people can dine. My nonprofit, we had our council and board member dinner last night. We talked about last December's end of year dinner, and we were at a very popular steakhouse, and it was loud, and we all had to lean into the table. Some of us are older in the group, some of us older than older, and it was hard to hear. So this year, we're going to a place that's a little quieter, a little softer, aesthetically pleasing, and more conducive to hosting a group of 14 guys.
There's that repeat business component, is it not? The acoustics would have been better, and the ambiance or whatever other peripheral design elements would have been better. You guys would have come back.
And you know what? We have gone back, but we've gone back in smaller groups, 2, 3, 4 of us, but not a big group where we're at a table where number 14 can't hear person number 2, because we've got 3 or 4 tables put together.
Absolutely.
So absolutely, though, I couldn't agree more.
What's the biggest miss in terms of the design elements that are not thoughtfully put into a restaurant?
Almost like I would say when people are putting together a menu, no cohesiveness. We had a dinner last night. Food was fantastic. Staff was great. Restaurant's beautiful, but just no cohesiveness in the menus. A little bit. We had some Asian food. We had some Southern food. We had Mediterranean food. I like a cohesive menu because, you can do things very well. To me, that's, just elevated sports bar menu. And we were not in a sports bar last night, but just like the menu design, it doesn't have to be 30,000 colors. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be in your face. I like modern contemporary. I like solid colors. I love an open kitchen. With an open kitchen comes a lot of responsibility. Staff has to be on their game, and they have to be aware of what they're doing and where their hands are at all times. But I think having I love an open floor plan. I love soft browns and tans and oranges and yellows. I love the Mediterranean blues and yellows, and the Mediterranean blues and whites mixed together. If all done pleasantly, well.
Yes, in the right context. And
Absolutely.
for the right concept.
Yep, absolutely. I went on this kick for a long time where I was photographing bathrooms of restaurants, and I came across so many beautiful restaurants. And I think the first one I ever came across that just blew me away was a Japanese restaurant in Westport, Connecticut, many, many years ago. And then from there, I just caught myself in bathrooms and really being wowed by what was being offered, but how it was built out. And there was enough room for 2 or 3 people to be in there to wash their hands. The music, the cleanliness, it was just, you almost didn't want to leave.
You're definitely gonna have to send me some of those. I would love to see because I feel like
I'll have to find those because I
yeah,
still buy somewhere and I need to find those.
yeah, it's beautiful to see how, there's so many awesome creatives in this world, and it's wonderful to see their take on it and how they come up with a plan, a concept, and how it's executed too, because it's flawless.
Yeah, I'm a big flower guy. I love fresh plants. I love fresh flowers. And there's nothing better than sitting at a table with something very simple, something that doesn't take up, is not a distraction. I can see over my guest in front of me. It's something that's there to just complement the table, right? And then you walk in and there's fresh plants that are well cared for, or ivy that's on the outside of a restaurant that's well tended to. It's green, it's lush, it's climbing the walls properly, or walking into a restroom and just seeing a really nice planter, that's down there and well tended to.
Or candles at the table. Like, I'm a sucker for that.
I love candles. Just none of those fake blinking light ones, please.
No, definitely not. Very, very tacky. What would you say is like one of the biggest opportunities right now in the restaurant world?
Taking care of staff. Right now, it's one of the most important things that we can do right now. After COVID, coming out of COVID, we lost almost 3 million restaurant workers to different careers, big box retailers, going back to school, real estate, just finding other careers. And we want them back. We want to endure people to join our industry because it's so worthwhile. I have lived all over the United States on somebody else's dime. My travels have been paid for. You're well fed. You gain another family. It's a worldly thing. You're always connected to somebody in the hospitality field. But we have to take care of our employees. We have to check in with our employees. We have to make sure they have the resources for mental health care. We have to check in to make sure that their families are well. We have to be there for them. I think long gone are the days of you're supposed to be here at 5 o'clock, you're 5:01, you're being written up. I think we need to be softer and give a little grace and understand that and remember that we also sit in traffic ourselves. There's undue circumstances that can make people late. Somebody's childcare might be not ready to discharge a child. Anything can happen. So we have to be a little more graceful, a little more open and forgiving. So our staff wants to stay with us. We need to take care of our employees. And that's for all industries, but in hospitality especially.
Would you say that there's like your top 3 in terms of how to execute on that, how to show them and how to get them to stay longer?
Absolutely. Provide a living wage, provide a way for them to grow if that's what they want to do. Corporate restaurants do a great job of that. Even small mom and pops, even though they don't have, some might not even have a manager, but I always told staff when I worked in any restaurant, whether it was small mom and pops, which I've done, or corporate restaurants, anywhere I've worked, I always told my staff when I hired them, if you give me 120%, I'll give you 120% of my resources, whether you stay in the industry or if you want to get out and are looking to do something, I'll give you a glowing recommendation. I'll make connections for you within my network who will help you get to wherever you need to get to. And I've been proud to be able to do that. And I love doing that. So we have to make sure that we're taking care of our staff in that manner as well. Checking in on our staff, when we're doing lineup, just making sure everybody's really ready to open those doors. And then at checkout, when people are checking out, if we know something's going on with them, but we know a family member's been sick, how's your mom doing? How's your dad doing? What can we do for you? Providing resources like Giving Kitchen, which is a Atlanta-based James Beard award-winning nonprofit that supports food service workers during a time of crisis, or Southern Smoke out of Texas, or Burnt Chefs Project. There's so many resources. We just need to make sure that restaurants know about them.
And what are some of those resources? Can you give that audience?
Sure, yeah. So Giving Kitchen is givingkitchen.org. You have Southern Smoke out of Texas and the Burnt Chef Project.
Amazing. And what do each of those do?
Pretty much they all do the same thing. So Giving Kitchen, if any food service worker, whether they work in restaurants, fine dining, bars, cafeterias, school cafeterias, assisted living, as long as they serve food in some capacity, prepare food, wash dishes for food, if they ever get sick, injured, they have a death in the immediate family or fire flooding in their home where they cannot work, Giving Kitchen will provide resources for them to pay rent and utilities for up to 2 months. It's a mental wellness check-in. If somebody needs dental insurance, they have a stability network of resources for people to lean into as well. Southern Smoke is the same thing. Burnt Chef Project is pretty much similar.
Wow.
Yeah. To date, Giving Kitchen has given away over $16.5 million, supported 27,000 food service workers nationwide.
It's wonderful to hear that there are other resources out there. I don't think there's a lot of information. It's not well known.
It's not. And it's our job as restaurant consultants, as restaurant owners, managers to spread the word.
What would you say is been your favorite project or your most ideal project to work on?
During COVID, there was a really, really sweet Indonesian couple who took over a pizza restaurant that was extremely large. It was 6,000 square feet. The salesperson who sold them food, worked for a food distributor, called me up and said, "Hey, I've got a couple who are about to go under. They don't know what to do. This is the situation. Can you come talk to them?" So I went in and talked to to them. It was supposed to be from 4 to 5 o'clock. I left at 7:30. There were tears at the table. This couple, they just were not in a good situation. The landlord continuing to charge $12,000 a month for rent, $800 in CAM, and not budging on it and not letting them to do anything. So they had to sell their home. They had to move in with their daughter and her husband. They had to sell one of the cars because they weren't making enough money to pay rent and to pay for their staff. So the father was making deliveries just to afford groceries to help contribute to his daughter's home. So we put a plan together. I got with their accountant and their lawyer, and we presented a plan to the landlord. And the landlord, I could not represent them through my company, so I gave them the verbiage and told them what to do. It wasn't presented correctly, so we had to go back a second time. Counteroffer came back of only $10,000, but still paying $800 a CAM, not acceptable. And then finally, I called my corporate office with my boss and asked if I can go ahead and speak on their behalf. It was granted, and basically said to them, listen, you either accept this offer or they're going to walk away. They're going to file bankruptcy, and then you lose out. And I can tell you as a consultant who's very tied into this community, nobody is going to pay you $12,000 and nobody wants this size restaurant in it. And a little back and forth, they only had to pay 10% of their gross receipts for 6 months. And then after that, it was extended for another year. Well, this couple was able to save enough money and bought another restaurant. And then they finally got out of that lease.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was just because these two people, their heart and soul was in it. They were losing everything, but they were not about to let their staff suffer. And just the humbleness of just him saying, I'm going to make these deliveries so I can contribute to my family's table. My daughter and her husband are having us in their home and I need to contribute. And it just touched me. I just, I have an affinity for elders. I have an affinity for people from other cultures who work hard to make the American dream come true, who are active in the community, who want to give back. And my heart was with them the entire conversation. And to this day, 5.5 years later, we're still dear friends.
That's such a heartwarming story.
Yeah, that was probably by far my favorite consult.
What was like the biggest lesson? What was your biggest takeaway from all of that?
Not giving up. This landlord is a bigwig in the city, great reputation. I reached out to somebody in commercial real estate and said, I need some assistance. I need verbiage. And we didn't stop. And I'm very thankful that my company allowed me to go ahead and do what I did in a professional manner, of course, while not really representing the company, but representing this couple in good faith and just having post debriefs with the attorney and accountant and just being like, listen, you guys are the professionals as well. You represent them more so than I do or my company does. You need to step up a little bit. Like you need to have these hard conversations with this landlord. It doesn't need to come from me. Don't wait for me. This is what y'all do.
Amazing. I would love for you to leave our audience with, whether it's design or, ownership, whatever the topic is, leave them with 3 of your top tips for being successful.
So whether you own a restaurant or any other kind of business, make sure it's aesthetically pleasing, make sure it's clean upon entrance, make sure your guests, your customers are warmly greeted, make sure they're taken care of during their entire time in your business, and make sure they're sent off in a way that you want your family members to be sent off.
Love it. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Absolutely. It's Sean@thepineappleproject.net.
And you're also on LinkedIn, correct?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Okay, we'll put all that information on the show notes. Thank you so much, Sean, for joining us. It's been such a pleasure hearing all your wisdom and can't wait to see what you do next.
I appreciate that. And thank you so much again for having me.
Thank you.
It's been great. Bye-bye.